Hi there, it's Kim Record, and I want to know, do you have a comfort food that you reach for when you're feeling particularly stressed or overwhelmed or just busier than usual? Well, I do, and I think most people do actually, but I don't know how many people are able to consume their comfort foods without guilt. Without guilt, either while they're eating it or after they've eaten it. Usually, comfort foods come with that sense of feeling guilty for eating them. And so you can see how this could become a problem because, it's not very comforting to be feeling guilty. So it kind of defeats the purpose of eating the comfort foods in the first place. But where does this guilt come from? Why do we feel guilty when we eat comfort foods? Well, I think that it comes from this belief that it's not okay. It's not okay to indulge in food for comfort. And I personally happen to believe, or I've developed the belief over the past several years as I've healed my relationship with food, I've developed a new belief that it's not only okay, but it's actually important for a healthy relationship with food to be able to turn to it for comfort every so often. We just have to know how to do it. We have to learn how to do it without guilt and without negative consequences, which is what I'm going to share with you today because I just had, I was reminded of this actually. I had a personal experience over the last couple of weeks where I was working towards a deadline. I wanted to submit my book manuscript, which I'm going to be sharing with you more over the coming months. I shared this book manuscript to send to the editor. I had a deadline and I was working really hard to meet that deadline. All my energy and focus and time went into this project over the last couple of weeks. Now, because of that, because I to balance myself out, I reached for my comfort food more. And well, actually my personal comfort food is more of a drink. Mine is coffee. And maybe some of you can relate to this one, I'm not sure, but I love coffee. Coffee has always been an amazing comfort to me. The smell, the taste, what it represents to me, it's so comforting. And tea just doesn't cut it for me. And so, but I know that if I consume too much of it, that there are negative consequences. I mean, there's lots of research supporting that it's healthy for us, and then there's some that support it that it doesn't, that it isn't. But for me personally, I know that I can't consume too much because the caffeine has an effect. So I follow these three tips. These three tips I'm going to share with you, which I think can actually apply to any comfort food out there in your own way. So the first tip is to know your limits and stick within your parameters. So when we tune into our bodies, when most of us know what that point is from which it becomes a good experience, a pleasurable experience to eat that food, to the negative consequences. Maybe it's a reaction in the body. Maybe it's digestive reaction or skin reaction. Maybe it's a change of mood or energy level. We know that point, right? We know that point at which it all of a sudden turns to a negative consequence in the body. For me personally, I know I can't really consume more than 4 cups of coffee or 4 shots of espresso before it starts to make me jittery and anxious and turn into a negative experience. So I have my limits. I also know I can't drink it past 3 p.m. So I set my parameters and I stick with it. So what are your limits? Do you have to measure them out? Do you have to, it just requires being a little bit more conscious while you're eating your comfort foods and to plan for it. And then the second tip is to choose quality stuff. So when you have a high needs time, like when you need those comfort foods more than ever, this is not the time to go reach for the crappy stuff with the crappy ingredients full of chemicals and artificial everything, preservatives, you name it. This is the time to go for good quality ingredients. Go and splurge because you're worth it. You are worth that extra expenditure. You're going to be putting more of this stuff in your body for a short period of time. You want to make sure it's good quality stuff. Now I become a coffee snob when I'm high needs and reaching for more for comfort. I only drink organic and high quality beans during this time. Whereas, most of the time I'm not opposed to an occasional crappy cup of coffee if I'm not, experiencing this high needs time. So become a snob. Become a snob of your comfort food and go for those top quality ingredients because you're worth it. And then the last tip, the third tip, is to adjust the rest accordingly. So again, in my example, coffee, I know dehydrates me. So I need to adjust other things to compensate for that, to help keep me balanced during that time. I need to drink more water, eat more fruits and veggies, eat more, grounding foods with protein and good fats, and less of the sugary stuff that could actually, help to accentuate the caffeine buzz. So I really do adjust the rest of what I intake throughout the day accordingly so that I stay balanced. And so I encourage you to do that for your comfort foods too. Our bodies will tell us, we can just kind of tune into our bodies. What does it need to be able to stay balanced so that we can still enjoy those comfort foods for all of the comfort and none of the guilt. So if you like these tips, please go ahead and share them. And also, if you haven't done so already, consider signing up for my Body Love community by signing up for my free report on the top 7 reasons that diets don't work and what you can do about it. It's actually a small part of my upcoming book on breaking the diet cycle. So that'll give you a little insight into what's coming as well. And until next week, remember to define your beauty. You need to shine your gifts. Have a great week, everyone.